What up, guys? It's your boy, Matt from RamseyVoice.com, and we have to talk because Ken Tamplin of Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy is such a fan of saying that SLS, also known as speech level singing, does not work. He says it absolutely does not work, and he actually lists 5 reasons why. And we need to talk about this, guys, because SLS does work. It absolutely does work. And it has one of the best track records out of any singing technique out there. And I'm not a spokesman for SLS or any other technique, and I'm not trying to bash Ken Tamplin, but I think that it's kind of a funny thing that he says that it doesn't work when his own singing technique is so obviously directly influenced by it. So 3 huge things that you're going to get out of this today. Number 1, we're going to talk about Ken Tamplin's 5 reasons why speech level singing supposedly doesn't work, and we're going to dissect each one of them. We're going to talk about exactly why Ken actually teaches some of the same things that SLS teaches, and we're going to talk about how that you can actually start improving your voice and what the best vocal technique for that is. Now, before we jump in, guys, don't forget, smash that like button, comment with the next kind of reaction or tutorial that you want to see me do, subscribe, and turn on notifications for this channel. Or if you want to improve your singing voice, check out my complete singing course, Master Your Voice, and just click the link to get on the wait list. Now, let's jump in. Who is Ken Tamplin, and why does he say that speech level singing doesn't work? Well, Ken Tamplin, in case you're not familiar, is a very, very popular YouTube singing and vocal coach. And he's a fantastic singer, fantastic vocalist. Gotta give credit where credit is due. And as a matter of fact, Ken's videos were some of the very first videos that I saw on YouTube when I was first considering taking singing lessons, when I started this journey, almost over 10 years ago now. With that said, Ken is a big fan of saying that speech level singing doesn't work. And here's why that's crazy. Because Ken's technique is so obviously directly derived from speech level singing and other techniques that are similar. In fact, there's a ton of different vocal techniques that are very similar to that. The one that Robert Lunte teaches, the one that Roger Burnley coaches, Brett Manning Singing Success, Aaron Anastasi's, all these different vocal teachers definitely have a lot of SLS built into them. And here's the reason why, because Seth Riggs, the founder of speech level singing, has been around for a long time. The man's been teaching more than 50 years. And so as a result of that, he's had the opportunity to really prove that the technique does work. And a lot of people have kind of grabbed individual exercises and individual things out of SLS and incorporated it into their own techniques. But let's actually take Ken's words for it, and let's take a look at the 5 reasons why he says that speech level singing doesn't work. And we'll talk about why each of them is either factually wrong or actually the exact same thing that Ken himself teaches. Let's jump in. Now, the first big reason that Ken Tamplin says that speech level singing doesn't work is that speech level singing was originally designed for speaking, not for singing. Now, I could totally understand why a person who's not familiar with speech level singing would believe that this is true, because they look at the title of speech level singing and they're like, oh yeah, it must have something to do with speaking. It must have its roots there. It absolutely doesn't. As a matter of fact, Seth Riggs, the founder of speech level singing, was born in 1930, graduated with a master's in opera theater from Manhattan University, and he's dedicated more than 50 years of his teaching life to teaching singers. Now, I won't debate that some of his coaches and probably even him himself have taught speakers on how to improve their singing voice, most notably Roger Love. He's really big into the speaking voice right now. But the point remains that Seth has always been a teacher of singing first. So he graduated with an opera degree. He actually started coaching Broadway singers in the 60s. Then he moved to Los Angeles in the 70s, started teaching Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Bette Midler, Anthony Kiedis, a bunch of these fantastic singers that we think of today in Los Angeles. And his legacy is that he began teaching the ideals of bel canto, or Italian classical singing, to modern genres like rock, like pop, R&B, all these different things. So that's basically his legacy, has always been around singing rather than speaking. The biggest kind of nag to me is that a lot of people will say, oh, well, yeah, it actually uses some of the same exercises that you see in speech language pathology and speech therapy, like lip bubbles, like straw exercises and stuff like that. And that's absolutely true. However, most of that actually came from singing first and was applied to speaking either separately or later. So in either case, Seth came first. Now, the second reason that Ken gives that speech level singing doesn't work is that it doesn't teach the bright vocal sound that's required to grow the voice. And this is a really funny place for Ken to actually get started because it's super easy to disprove. As a matter of fact, speech level singing is super well known for all of the crazy vocal sounds that they have you do, from a nay 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 to an ah. It's very well known for all these crazy bright vocal sounds that grow the voice. What those vocal sounds actually do is they bring the vocal cords together more. And as the vocal cords come together more, you actually get a richer and a stronger sound. So rather than the vocal cords actually getting beefier and big, like you're lifting weights or something like that, those bratty and bright vocal sounds are basically just bringing the vocal cords together more so that everything sounds richer and brighter. Now, the biggest difference that I see between Ken's teaching of these bright vocal sounds and SLS teaching these bright vocal sounds or bratty vocal sounds is actually that Ken uses the word law to illustrate la. It's the la is a big thing that he's always saying. And he'll always use like an octave arpeggio, like an la, la. Now, if you take that and you take a look at the nay, 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 you'll basically see that it's exactly the same thing. He's just chosen a different sound, ah versus nay or nah. And in fact, you could use a na or something like that. I tend to prefer an N rather than an L to teach that sound just because that l gets the tongue involved a little bit more than the N does. But the point is the same. They both use the exact same sound. And if the only difference is the vowel that you choose to sing it on, I'm sorry, Ken, we're going to have to do better than that. Now, the third reason that Ken says that speech level singing doesn't work is that it teaches early bridging. Bridging basically means that you're making a transition between the chest voice register of your voice and the head voice register of your voice. Theoretically, like I would switch to my head voice or more a dominant head voice sound, you know, somewhere around like an E4 or an F4, something like that, where I'm where I'm not just singing in just voice, and I'm not just head voice, I'm like I'm kind of like right in between those two places. Now, Ken claims that speech level singing teaches people to bridge too early, and that basically pampers the chest voice, leading to possible atrophy of the vocal cords. Well, I got news for you guys. There's no medical studies to back that up at all. As long as you're a regular speaker and singer and you don't have any underlying conditions like diseases or polyps or anything like that that's going to affect your vocal cords, then there's no evidence to say that if you just don't sing in enough chest voice or don't speak with enough chest voice, that your muscles are going to atrophy. This is just scare tactics to get you guys to think that he knows better what he's talking about. Now, I will agree that singing with chest voice is definitely important, and it's definitely important in singing because it's going to give you a stronger sound. But this whole idea that SLS teaches people to bridge too early is kind of funny because whatever technique you happen to teach, everyone basically agrees that most guys are going to start transitioning around an E4. Could be a little bit before, could be a little bit after, but around an E4. And most ladies are going to start bridging around an A4. Again, could be a little bit earlier, could be a little bit later. So where does Ken actually recommend that you start bridging? An E4 for guys and an A4 for girls, the exact same place. So again, it's just super obvious that he just took that directly out of SLS. And actually, that's one of the things that makes Seth so famous, is that he was one of the first people to say, look at the keyboard. If you're on an E, then you need to start changing the way that you're singing some of these notes. You're going to need to change the way that you're transitioning between these different passages in your voice. The fourth reason that Ken gives that speech level singing doesn't work is that speech level singing doesn't teach the bright ping in your head voice that's required to make the head voice and the chest voice sound the same. And I kind of understand what he's saying here is that, you know, supposedly SLS doesn't teach you an that will make everything from the top down to the bottom sound the same. He's suggesting that it's more of like an like there's going to be a big break in their voice. And this is like the funniest thing to me, because not only does speech level singing teach a very, very bright vocal sound, like it could be on a nay or a na or an ah or whatever. It's going to teach that bright sound to help you connect those different vocal registers. But the entire point of speech level singing is to teach singers to avoid that break in their voice by singing through it and by allowing their voice to kind of sing through that section rather than pushing or just flipping into falsetto. As a matter of fact, like an ah is a fantastic exercise for that. So not being able to tell exactly where I'm switching is basically the entire point of SLS training, because if I can make that sound like it's all connected, then I can basically to the world. It all sounds fine. It all sounds even and connected. And again, that's the whole point. The fifth reason that Ken gives that speech level singing doesn't work is that speech level singing is bogged down with tons of vocal exercises that have no practical application. And you know what? Ken, part of me really agrees with you. Every vocal technique has some really crazy vocal exercises. I mean, if you saw a lip trill in SLS, Ken also teaches those. But if you saw a lip trill, you'd think I was crazy. Or if you saw me do like a you'd be like, why are you doing these silly exercises? Well, the whole thing is that every single vocal technique is going to have silly exercises. The reason they're going to have silly exercises is because they work. They actually help your voice to achieve something that you weren't able to do before. So let's say that I'm breaking on a note in my voice. So like I'm breaking on it. Instead, maybe doing on a na 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 na, a really ugly and silly vocal exercise will help me achieve that. And that is absolutely correct. And that's why every vocal technique has weird exercises, including yours, Ken. Ken's final reason that speech level singing doesn't work, it's kind of a bonus reason, because he says he's going to give you 5 reasons, but he actually tacks this one on, which is that basically SLS doesn't show its teachers or its students singing, which is just a flat out weird place to end his list, because there are so many videos of fantastic singers that have taken lessons in SLS and tons of great singers and teachers that have learned these techniques and just incorporated them into their singing. The funny thing about this is it's really easy to see which singers have taken lessons in SLS. You just have to take a look at the list of fantastic students that Seth Riggs has had, that Brett Manning have had, and I mean, we can just go down the list. We can look at Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Bette Midler, Madonna, Ray Charles. These are all fantastic singers. And all of them have taken lessons with SLS teachers, if not the founder, Seth Riggs himself. So again, this part is really, really busted. I mean, there's tons and tons of SLS singers out there. And again, the teachers are sometimes even better singers than the famous students that they have. It's just, not all teachers want the limelight. All of this just really makes you wonder, why exactly is Ken saying that speech level singing doesn't actually work when he's using many of the same techniques in his own teaching style? Well, the answer is really simple. It's really good marketing. If you say that one of the best and most proven vocal techniques in the world is just BS and that you have reasons why, then it automatically makes yours seem way more popular than it is. Ken's just one guy. SLS has hundreds and hundreds of teachers all around the world. So in order to make himself seem more prominent, it's a really easy thing to pick a fight with that. And I don't want to do the same thing with Ken here, because Ken is a fantastic singer and I think his heart's in the right place. Basically, the marketing of attacking a better and more trusted technique just makes better marketing for him. And until we're able to set the record straight, it really bothers me how many people are probably researching great techniques like speech level singing in SLS and getting turned off when they see Ken Tamplin's review of it. So I wanted to set the record straight. Again, I'm not a spokesman for any of these techniques. I'm just a good voice teacher that loves good vocal technique and improving my students' voices. At the beginning of this video, I told you that I was going to tell you what I think the best vocal technique for improving your voice is. And here's the answer. Whichever one works the best for you as a student. And I know that sounds like a massive cop-out, but I just want to tell you a quick story. I took a lesson with a fantastic teacher when I was living in San Francisco. I actually took a couple months of lessons with him, and he taught speech level singing. Really, really great guy. But our chemistry wasn't totally on, and for whatever reason, I just didn't feel like I was really progressing that much. As soon as I moved to Austin, Texas, and I started taking lessons with another SLS teacher, my progress skyrocketed. And I want to tell you that it doesn't matter what technique you're taking lessons in. If you don't have a relationship of trust and feel like you really get along with your teacher, you're not going to make progress. And unfortunately, when Ken puts out all of this conflicting information about which techniques don't work just in favor of his own technique, it makes it harder for people out there to trust their teachers. And I wish that it weren't like that. So if you're looking to improve your singing voice, continue following my channel, and happy singing.